Hello and welcome. Today we have Sunil Varma on the show. And just before we begin, guys, I would like you to subscribe to my BitChute channel and my YouTube channel. We are banned at the moment until until 1 week when the ban is lifted. So do add me on, follow me on BitChute and Telegram. And Sunil, how are you? And you're based in England, is that correct?
True. I'm in England right now, and it's all fun over here. We're still experiencing this lockdown. As they say, the end phases of it. But I think this will continue until everybody gets fed up inside. Just say no more.
So when you say this will continue, when you say this will continue until people will get fed up of it, what do you think people need to do in order for it to stop continuing?
I think people need to really stand up for their rights, really speak up, and just not let things just fly by. Because I think a lot of people are still plugged into the TV. They still believe the news. They still watch the newspapers. So until a person experiences pain, and when that pain gets too much, then they say no more. And I think this is a great lesson for humanity to actually stand up for itself and realize that everything that's going on is your creation. It really is. It really is everyone's creation. The government is your creation. Everything that you see out there is all part of your mindset. They're all parts of us, right? Everything is a part of you.
Absolutely.
The positive, the negative. Go on.
Please. I was going to say, you're right. No, what you're trying to say is that, we are what we think and we create our own reality.
It is really that. And if you don't own your unconscious mind, then your unconscious mind, right, plays out in front of you. Just like being a bully at school. If somebody bullies you at school, what are they really trying to teach you? They're really trying to teach you to step into your power, to own your power, right? Until you say, that's enough, then all these projections start to dissolve. The more you own your process, then it doesn't have to abuse you.
Absolutely, yeah. So what's it like in Birmingham now, and how, and you are in England, you are a few hours away from me because I'm in London. So what's Birmingham like for you? And how
Birmingham for me right now is just, it seems like it's subdued, right? That's what I feel. I feel like people are probably very frustrated inside, fed up, and probably not really doing too well with their emotions. That's what I just pick up when I pick up the field and just watch the TV. You can see people are just starting to get fed up, right? And if they do this again, which I think they will, then people are going to really fed up, right? So it's going to force people to rebel more against what's going on, which I think is really necessary.
Absolutely.
This is all like, for me, how I see this is just like the Matrix movie, because it is a matrix. This is a program you're in. You're in COVID program. That's how I see it, right? These are all like levels of programs. I'm a program. You're a program, right? So we're all in a hard hologram, living in a holographic universe.
Absolutely.
So whatever we're experiencing. Sorry, go on.
No, please.
Yeah, whatever we're experiencing, right, is levels of consciousness. So within each person, they have this war going on in their mentality, or a fight mode going on. So the more higher you go up in consciousness, the more you start to recognize that, oh God, the evil that's going on in the world right now is actually coming from me. It's collective. So the more that you clear out these levels inside of your brain, the war against yourself, the war against the world, the war against humanity, or even the evil, the corruption, all these things that you are seeing in the world, once you start clearing them out of yourself, then you start seeing a shift occur inside everything in everyone. And the reason I know that is because when I was very young, I experienced so much hardship at a very young age, where I got to see the slavery mentality right there. And then on top of that, my body, as I grew older, I became very sick. And so I had all these conditions going on inside of me that were very, very painful, right? Severe depression, all these things. And a lot of things forced me, because of my physical body, to deal with myself without escaping, without using any kind of drugs or anything like that. And with having to deal with my own limitations at that time, the more I went inside of myself, the more I actually saw that I actually hold a lot of answers inside to why people do the things that they do. And so it just became clear to me that when you recognize that, when you recognize these wounds that we carry as humans, these wounds are carried within each and every person. So there's different wounds that people carry, that if you don't address those wounds, they play out in front of you.
Absolutely.
So go on. So I'm just a bit passionate right now.
No, that's good. When you spoke about people rebelling, have you seen any kind of rebelling at the moment?
I haven't seen anything right now, because England to me just seems like people. There's this Isle of Man where people just stood up and said no more. They threw all the masks away and everything, and they opened their businesses and started living their life. But in this area here, it hasn't really had that effect on people right now. So it hasn't. So, but I think, unfortunately, people need to experience more pain until they say no more. I can't handle it. My livelihood's, is going in the pan. Everything's going, whatever I worked for is disappearing. For what purpose? Just because of this program that I'm stuck in, where in reality, the program ends really when I say it ends. Does that go on?
Absolutely. No, you're right, because the power is in the mind. So we have to take control of our lives.
Well, it's more than that. You have to, like, I'll give you an example, right? For 3 weeks, I had this thing in my mind. I was saying, I need to get a iWatch. And I was like, what do I need an iWatch for? And I'm like, why am I getting this weird feeling that I need to get an iWatch? And then I realized, oh my God, this is the program that's currently sweeping through everybody right now. So it's like an addiction, right? I need to get another program to put on my wrist when I've already got this phone over here. And it's just that simple when you just recognize it's an addiction, right? That's flying around. And most people, when they put an iWatch on, you're already saying yes to being assimilated even more. Because automatically, even with your phone, by having an iWatch in there, you're just agreeing to perhaps being chipped at some stage through here. So it's whether or not you recognize that and you say that, yeah, it's just another program, and it's not a program that I want to agree with.
It's small pieces of indoctrinations, and
it is
so gradual. Yeah. So,
and if you don't, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no. And if you don't, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. If you don't, if you blindly just switch off, next thing you know, you'll be wearing one, and next thing you know, you will create a timeline where you will agree to being chipped. You'll agree to it.
So how are you finding the people in Birmingham? Are you finding anyone that supports Trump? How is it in Birmingham?
Not really, no. I think people here are too entrenched in their belief in what they've seen on the news about him. I don't think people really know about the trafficking. They don't really know the in-depth stuff involving the trafficking. They don't. I think there's a small percentage of people that do. But I think it'd be too much for people to actually to actually go into it and understand how horrific it all is, and that he's not really the bad guy that the news make him out to be. It's easy to, it's easy, right? If you don't do your research, if you don't work on yourself, you can easily believe the narrative, and just think that, yeah, he's out to fill his own pockets, and you won't even go any further than that. You won't even realize that the guy actually took on a big sacrifice, to do the work that he's doing. And it's his soul work that he's doing. And that with everything that he's done and he continues to do, he's actually there supporting the people of the light. So it is a war, right? That it's a war between the light and the dark. And even though it doesn't seem like that, and it's all an illusion. Many times it's an illusory experience. When you realize the whole play that's going on in front of you, that the light has actually won this whole thing. There's many elements to it, right? There's alien races on the planet who, if we wouldn't have intervened, would have probably enslaved everybody even further than what they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. We're definitely being controlled by demonic entities. So
there's a lot, right? There's gray aliens. There's the Draco lizards. There's a lot of races, and just like you and I are cloaked in this human skin, underneath it, we are all extra ETs. All of us are. We just have this human appearance.
I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, or was it the day before, and she was saying the same thing, that we all have something in us different, from different, types of souls. So it's very interesting you say that. Yeah, and we're just having a physical experience on Earth.
Yeah, you're in a program, right? And how can I tell you that when you're in a program? Because quite oftentimes my program called Sunil will get loaded. I'll be loaded with information, and I can and spatial time for me becomes still in that moment when I get loaded with information, and I can't move. I can't do anything until I just clear out the information that's come in. And that's one instance. The other instance is when I'm in an experience where I'm living somewhere, I can feel the program ending. I can see it ending because everything just ends in the program, which means I'm ready to move on to the next program. So for people who watch this, probably what I want to tell you is that you are a program. You are living in a program, right? And the program that we are living in has been designed and created as an experiment, right? This is part of a big experiment that was done by the Galactics, right? So an experiment is to see, can a planet shift so quick from this extreme darkness to being extreme light? So it's huge.
It is very huge. I've spoken to Jason Q a long time ago about this, and he says that we're an experiment we were put here to mine gold for Nibiru. They need gold in their atmosphere to survive.
It's a very every single person who's on this planet right now was interviewed, very, very selectively interviewed. There are tons, like over probably, I say millions of ETs, just like you and I, who interviewed to be here, and many got turned away. And why did they get turned away? Because in the interview process, when they were interviewing every person to be, every soul that's here now, they wanted to know, what's your commitment like to the light? How committed are you to serving God or the light? And they know exactly when, what variances you would have. Would you sell out? Would you go to the dark side? Would you do all these? Or would you stay firmly rooted in light?
I know what you mean. You have this feeling inside you where you just can't. It doesn't feel comfortable, for you to do it.
it's not only that, Nick, right? Every person, right? Even every light worker, every starseed, every person, right, have those thoughts. They have those thoughts go through them all the time. But if you don't continuously work on it, if you don't work on yourself all the time, then you could easily go towards those thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it requires you to be vigilant, right? Very vigilant, and to work through all these places in your mind that has these thoughts of corruption or whatever the dark thoughts are. Everybody has that. In order to know the light, you must know the darkness.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We need evils in order for us to appreciate good.
You do, right? You have to. Unfortunately, this has all been created in such a way that people go through the most worst experiences, right? To come out knowing what they've been through, and what is possible if you don't work through these areas, like the dark night of the soul. Landing in areas where, through your own evolution, you can experience again things that most people would take for granted, or they would leave the planet because it's so dark. When I for myself, when I went through my awakening, which was in 2016, I worked as a hypnotherapist. I was working with lots of people, and for me, one time I remember, even with the work I was doing, I was like, God, there's something wrong here. I'm seeing so many people become more free inside, but I know inside of me, the more I do it, that there's like this ceiling that I'm not able to break through. And so I remember I was listening to this guy talk about freedom, this teacher, and he said the same thing. He experienced the same thing, and there's something that he just couldn't break through, even with all the work he was doing. And then I realized, as I listened to him, I said, God, I am not completely free. I am not free. There's something I'm not free of. And what I wasn't free of was the matrix. And when there was a prayer that I did, I remember he said the same prayer. He said a prayer, and I copied his same prayer. And I really felt when I made that prayer that it was totally received. And when it was received, it was after I think it was about 6 months, then my life started falling apart. Then everything started crumbling. And that's when, for me, the whole matrix thing just started falling. And then I went through a Saturn return, a mini Saturn return. And one of those things are very horrific because they torture you. It's like you're being tortured 24 hours a day in your brain, because it feels like somebody's crushing and smashing your brain. And when the whole experience happened to me, and on top of that, there was some other experiences that were very dark that just I had happened to experience. With that, this whole experience had landed me in like hell realms, demonic realms, right? When those things are very scary for a lot of people if you don't know what they are, and if you don't know how to, navigate after these things. And all these things were happening, and I couldn't think, I couldn't operate because my mind was like, it was just like a compute. It's like a program just melted inside. With that experience, I ended up going to India, and I thought, okay, this is it for me. I'm not going to make it through this. And I had a life review in India, which is a brief life review, where you're shown your life right in front of you. And I was given the opportunity if I wanted to leave or if I wanted to stay. I could have gone. Okay. But I knew in my heart that, go on, what were you going to say? I'm
listening. Right, I'm not. I like it.
Yeah. But I knew in my heart that I couldn't go because I still had to be here because there's something I had to do. And so I chose not to go. And I came back and I knew, I was like, I can't work because I can't hold my thoughts. I can't focus. I can't do anything. It's like my brain is a complete mess. And I went to bed one night And as I was sleeping, something woke me up. And then it just held me. This being just held my head. And as it held me, it waved a brush through my brain for like 9 hours. And I was just watching. And I could feel something go across my brain. It was just left and right. The next day, I could think, I could act, I could do whatever I want the next day. It was all healed.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So how about your family, and do you have children?
I do have a kid, yeah. My family probably wouldn't be able to understand all this stuff. Yeah, they wouldn't understand it. It's very lonely, right? When you unplug from the matrix and you wake up, because it's like you're on the other side of it. Yeah. And if your family is still in it, people often at times commit suicide because it can be so lonely, and it's like you're speaking a different language to people.
It's like we're aliens and we're living on a different
Well,
planet.
we're already aliens, but it's like you're no longer
A part of this world.
well, you've broken the family structure in a sense, right? Because you see the thing about awakening is like you have to understand what keeps people stuck is their attachment to the family, right? It's you identify so deeply with your family that you couldn't imagine, people can't imagine leaving their family. But if you study the teachings of Buddha, right? Buddha's teachings, when you listen to what he experienced himself, he said, you know what? He said, I often wondered, why does everybody have a family? He says, why is there a family everywhere I go? Everywhere I go, people have a family. And then he realized that's what stops people from becoming free, the family. When you break the identification with the family, you start to break free of your, whatever your information you're carrying.
I see.
So there's a lot of,
I see what you mean in the way you explain it. You're speaking of it as an identity. You belong in this category. It's a bit like religion or a bit like race.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm my nationality is this, and this is my family, and this is my religion, and it's all about labels. Of course, we have the ones being related to people and being blood related and having families different to what you're trying to say. But you're speaking more of an identity category where we have to come out of that and look at it more holistically.
And when you identify with anything, right, that's the problem. Like when you look at a bodybuilder, right, who's in bodybuilding their whole life, and they're in their 60s, and all they do is they're still bodybuilding. And that guy wouldn't even realize that. He wouldn't even, if you were to take that identity away from him, he would be like, who am I? Because you see these guys who are working on their bodies all the time, but they don't quit because it's become their identity, right? So this whole thing that happened with this whole COVID thing, you saw people were melting because their identity had been taken away, right? People were getting fired. They were losing their jobs. So it forced people to look deep inside and realize that you are not your job. You're not the director. You're not all these things that you say you are. You are consciousness. And you are having this temporary experience.
I agree with you, 100%.
Yeah. Where you can evolve or you can die, right? The species, it's up to you because it's all in your hands. And with this program that we're in, COVID program, people have no choice. They have to evolve. It's been designed like that now. People are having to deal with the unpleasantness of their thoughts, the judgments, all these things. And we're all the same. We all get triggered, don't we? So it's like, what do you do with that trigger though when you get triggered? Do you free yourself from the trigger or do you act it out?
What do you mean?
So because we're in a confined area where people are in lockdown, right? A lot of people have been triggered by each other. So, which brings up their anger and rage inside. But if you don't deal with that, people act it out. Because if you're
yeah, I mean, it works differently for everybody. But definitely, I see what you mean. There are many people that have woken up. I mean, do you find that this COVID thing, I mean, some people have gone more into sleep and some people have woken up. Do you think that?
I think, England, see, look, for me, I was brought here. I was brought specifically to England, even though it was like they just took me out of, I used to live in America. I was in America for 20 years. I left when Donald Trump came in to, into office. And I'm really glad in the way that I did leave America. But I didn't really know that I was coming into an area in England, that England was very dark. I didn't really know that. And then I started researching more about England, about the UK. And I had other friends too. And then I realized, I'm like, oh God, that's why they wanted me here. They wanted me to hold, because there's a lot of light workers who were brought to this in England, because England, again, is very dark. You've got the royal family here. You got the deep state, you've got in the government here. So there's a lot of occult stuff that's been going on, in this area. So when you understand that stuff, and you understand that this whole trafficking thing has been going on for eons, that there's tunnels everywhere, underground, everywhere. And then the kind of sophistication that they've used to create those tunnels, when you realize all these things, it kind of like blows your mind.
I see what you mean, because they've been there for, hundreds of years, probably
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
And you're thinking, well, how they created those, and it's so sophisticated even back then. And you just go through another rabbit hole to think how their minds were thinking.
Well, it's really, I'll tell you an example. I remember many years ago, I used to have a friend of mine, and he was a photographer. And we were just having a chat one time, and he said, do you know something? When you go to Oxford Street in England, did you know that there are streets underneath Oxford Street, levels below? And he goes, if you go into the streets, if you go down a few, those levels, the streets are preserved just the same way. They've kind of left the streets the same way, and they've built 10 stories up, right? So I remember when he told me that, and I was like, no. And I was like, and then I did my research, and I couldn't believe it. But the more, it's one of those things where you forget about it, but the more that this whole thing starts to come up about the trafficking, and you do your own research and you go into it, and you find out these guys were using alien technology to create these worlds underneath, by going through the concrete, just like a laser, and building these cities. It's quite amazing it's really quite amazing what's been going on. And many of us haven't paid attention.
What do you mean that there are different stories? Are you saying of roads, like below the ground?
No, not stories. It's just like levels, right? As you and I know that. Like in an elevator, you've got level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mm-hmm. It's like an elevator, right? Going down. So if there's like 3 miles of depth going into the earth, there's like honeycombs everywhere. So you've got different races who are already living there. And different ETs.
And you think that they are not human? Are they in human form?
I think everything, right? I think all of us are in a cloaking device right now. We're all like you and I are both, what's a good way to describe it? We're a hologram. You and I are a hologram, a hard hologram. We bleed, right? Mm. So how I define this life is that even though this life is a game, right? I look at this life as a game. It's a game that's been thought out well before your soul came here. Mm. And you agreed to it. So you brought in all these actors, the good actors, the bad actors, all these people. And this has been created for you, no matter how violent it gets, so that you wake up from the nightmare. So people have a choice when they come here. You can create heaven or you can create hell.
Mm. Right.
So unfortunately, people go to sleep and then hell gets created all around them. You give your power away. You don't know anything about what a sovereign being is, right? There are people out who know But I think a lot of people have forgotten, what is your true sovereign? What does it mean to be a sovereign being? To be fully in your power, to be fully connected to who you are, to not give your power away to all these governments, doctors, anybody who comes into your life, even your brother or sister, right? Because it all starts from your family. So the more you get ingrained about giving your power away, sometimes people do that their whole life. And then they wonder, why do I feel so depleted inside?
I 100% agree. You know, definitely we should, you know, definitely try to, you know, get out from this matrix, because it's just been happening for, you know, for eons, like you've said. But what do you think about the Earth shifting into 5D?
I think it's great, right? We're already in the fourth right now, so we're moving that direction. For me, I get a lot of downloads all the time. So whenever these things start happening, they come straight into my crown and straight into my body. So I got these massive downloads, and sometimes I can't walk because they're very intense. And so I think as long as people are really, really interested in their own development, we're going to do good and waking up and being themselves. But if we don't, I feel it's going to be a split, right? You're going to have 3D and you're going to have 5D. So for me, what I've been doing is I've been erasing all the different variations of the virus and the programs in my brain, so that I don't have to create that reality. Just removing like different sufferings that humanity's experienced. You know, like the World War II, like the gassing of people, all these things. You know, all these tragedies that people experience. So for me, it's just removing that from my being, so I don't have to experience that. So if the humanity is saying, okay, I want to experience being vaccinated, right? So I'm taking that whole thing out of my system, so I don't have to experience it.
So what's the most shocking or overwhelming downloads that you've received?
Well, I wouldn't say it's shocking. The thing about it is that when you, like the coding, right? We're all codes, right? You and I are coded completely. We have all these light codes in us. So when you receive these downloads, what they're doing is they're igniting the coding in your body, because your body is very intelligent. Oh, it's already more evolved than both of us can fathom. So with Starseeds, right? Because most of us are Starseeds on this planet. Many people don't even know that. So we've come from these different star places where we lived on the seventh dimension, where you already were very advanced societies. So coming here and realizing, because of the sleep that many of us were in, a lot of Starseeds were like really badly sleeping because they had all been messed with. So they forgot who they were. They forgot their power. And why did they do that? Because Starseeds, when they start to wake up, they're the ones who can create the future. See, it's the old souls that can create the new world.
Makes sense.
New world without control, without governments ruling over you. A world where you don't have to live in struggle mode, survival mode, right? You live in a world where it's not even meant to be like that. As beings of joy, you're not supposed to live like that. But we come into a program where it was created like that. You'd experience the suffering, the darkness, the demonic stuff, all these things, and we didn't even realize that this is what we were being fed, because this is what they want humanity to be stuck.
So do you think that when we wake up, we are becoming our true selves, and our soul is basically, behaving through?
So Nick, look, there's something about waking up. When you wake up, right? When you wake up, you are on ground zero. Basically, you're on ground zero. You're no longer an identity that's comprises of your mother and father's thoughts. You are like at the beginning of the slate. You have to start from zero, ground zero. That's why I mean some people check out, they commit suicide, because you have to be yourself. You're left with the inner child. You're left with the abandonment, rejection issues, the pain of the childhood. You're left with all these things that you thought that you had dealt with, but now you realize that, oh my God, this is just the beginning.
It's interesting.
So awakening is like you've been stripped away of a false self.
But then you start to get to know yourself and your soul.
You do, but you have to be very committed to raising the person that you are. You have to be very committed to that. You have to do that like you like bread and butter. Because if you don't do that, it's very easy to just think, okay, I've awoken, and now I'm going to be like Buddha. It's not like that, because there's many levels to it. Then the real work starts. Then you understand about the wounding that your soul carries, that you understand about the pain, even more. You understand about what humanity is going through. You see, for me, I can feel the rhythms of humanity because it affects me even more. Even being an empath, I can say, okay, this is what they're feeling. But because I've done so much work for many people and for the planet, sometimes for me, I go, well, sometimes it's good to I want people to make their own decisions, or I don't have to save everyone. It's not my responsibility to carry the whole world on my shoulders. As healers, you end up doing that.
Absolutely. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, we all are, part of a jigsaw. Like, we're connecting consciousness, and we're supposed to work in this consciousness together, right?
It is, and that's why we came here, right? So for me, I get all these physical ailments, and that's because I was put here to clear it for humanity, like all the diseases that humanity goes through. I'm very well aware of it, how to heal people, because I've had to go through it myself. I've gone through the extremes of it, like wanting suicide, death, all these things. So I understand how people, when they get an illness, like I had 6 blood clots, 3 in each leg. Imagine that. And these things started happening to me until I realized I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want this anymore. Perhaps there's some place in me that's doing this. Whatever the victim mentality is that I'm carrying, I need to be over with it, and I need to own my power, right? So because of my soul is very ancient, very old, it's very aware of really this holographic field all the time.
Absolutely, yeah. And the truth resonates with us because the truth is within us.
The truth is always within us. Yeah, it's whether you want to know it or not. It's whether we want to get stuck in these narratives that keep coming our way, right? All these things, like the whole popcorn thing, with what's going on. But the truth is, the light has won. The light has claimed its place. That this is it. Whatever's playing out now is just because people are still let people catch up, to the truth.
Absolutely.
The evil has been eradicated from this planet.
And that's what you feel.
I do, but I still feel that there are still, when I say that, I mean like the immense evil that they've taken out with the deep state, right? These are like really, really dark, nasty aliens, right? So whatever else they're doing, whatever else they're removing, the light has won. And many people who are high vibrations will tell you that the light, it's a done deal.
Yeah. A lot of
by the galactics.
Yeah.
Sorry?
A lot of them are telling me that.
Yeah, it's all done. It's a done deal.
Yeah.
The gray aliens, the Dracos, the Dracos, are usually the gurus, the gurus running the, these they're the gurus, the self-help gurus, or the gurus have like consciousness meetups and stuff like that, big ones. Those are oftentimes, in some instances can be, Draco's led.
I see.
But I think there's a lot of cleansing still going on, but the more everybody starts to get a hold of it and say, yeah, I'm done with this whole thing and I want to wake up, then I think it'd be really great for humanity.
It would be. I think that there's a few things that still need to happen for more people to wake up. I think it's a very gradual process, but we are getting there. That's what I feel.
Yeah, it's just a pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like that scenario of the school, right, where the bully gets picked on until the bully says no more. I am this powerful being, and I don't want to experience this anymore. Unfortunately, here in England, it's just a bit. People are just still, they're not getting it. Even if you talk to people about the straw man, right? You talk to people about the straw man. People are what? People don't even have they don't have that curiosity to go, what actually is a straw man?
No, they don't.
Why am I paying taxes?
Yeah.
They don't even ask that. People here are just like, they're okay. Everybody's like not realizing that I'm hustling 24 hours a day for money when I'm already a wealthy human being. I'm worth millions, but I'm making more millions for this government, paying taxes. People don't think that.
No, you're right. They're very asleep, aren't they, in the UK?
They don't get it. Even as much as I banter on Facebook about it, I'm like, what is really going on here? People they don't realize. It's like you're paying Caesar, right? Comes from Egypt. You're paying that coin. Why are you paying that coin? Why are you paying for the roads? Why do we have all these restrictions on us? You need a license. You need to do this. You need to do that. Why? Because they've taken our freedom and they've boxed it up.
Mm-hmm. But they don't see it.
They don't get it. They don't get it until it becomes really painful.
It's happened very gradual, very, very gradual for them, and they just don't get it. It's really bad, actually, especially in the UK. I feel like they're really.
It is. It's because it's very. I mean, if so much, I'll give you an example. Like Spitting Image. You watched Spitting Image, right?
Sorry.
Have you watched the recent ones?
No, I haven't. I don't think I have.
You should. I recommend you watch the recent ones, right? Where they go into the Houses of Parliament, and you've got all these people who are in office, and they're doing a ritual, an occult ritual, to bring back Margaret Thatcher. And so they're doing all this spell casting. And even though you watch that, and some people think, oh, that's really funny, Spitting Image, Some people, if you go further with your intellect, you realize they're trying to really tell you the truth of what's actually going on. They're trying to tell you that in these governments, people aren't sitting there with the Bible. They're not looking to raise their consciousness or connect to Christ consciousness. It's the total opposite. And people don't even see that.
They tell us everything they're doing in plain sight. They put it.
They do. It's right there.
Directly, yeah. It's
right there. It's like if you follow a coach, right? I'll give you an example. You follow a coach, and the coach is telling you in front as you're on really basically in front of you what their beliefs are. They're showing you, this is who I am. Do you still want to follow me? People still follow that person, even if that person's like drinking, something that you what are you drinking? But people don't even question anything.
No, in the UK, they're not curious enough. They're not suspicious enough. They don't like
they're
to
not,
ask questions.
They're not, unfortunately. Yeah, they don't get that.
The UK is actually the worst in the world.
It is. Yeah. That's why there's a lot of light that's being brought here. It's like people who are like laser focused on maintaining the higher consciousness.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it's like, I work all the time. So I'm working 24 hours a day on these areas. And but it saddens me. It really does makes me sad that people just don't. They're really like clueless here, very clueless.
It's true.
Like I said, you could sit in front of them and you be whatever you're doing, they'll be like, he's a really good coach, even though he's wearing a witch's hat and he's wearing a Marilyn Manson t-shirt, and he's saying to me, he's actually saying that I support this kind of person. Oh yeah, I'll hire him. And people just are like that, and I'm surprised. It amazes me.
I'll be honest, it overwhelms me. Find it very overwhelming how people, they don't look at the statistics. For an example, with this COVID, they don't, you know, how many, you know, their death rates, everything,
Yeah,
you know, is consistent. They don't see anything, and that overwhelms me. And
they don't question it.
They submit. No, they don't question it. No, they don't.
It's quite. I mean, in a sense, right? It's quite
Funny.
Yeah, it's quite comical.
It is comical.
Fucked up, you know.
It's comical, but when you think about you know, that it's a threat to our democracy, that's when it starts to, you know, become a bit scary. But you're right,
you know,
it's very, very funny.
The whole thing about this whole COVID thing is, right, in the beginning they said stay at home, as you know, right, don't go outside. But it's a virus. It goes through walls. You know, it goes through walls. It doesn't mean anything staying at home.
In fact, you know? You're making yourself more ill if you're staying at home, because you're
exactly
staying in with all the bacteria.
Exactly.
You're supposed to open the windows for fresh air.
Yes.
You're supposed to go out.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
I was a kid and I was at school and I had a headache and I wasn't feeling well, the teacher used to say, "Do you want to go outside for some fresh air?" You know. So, and now they're stay inside, get ill.
Exactly, and wear 3 masks, right?
Exactly, and then die, and then you're a healthy person that's just got ill.
But they don't tell you, and that's why I couldn't believe it. I'm not telling people. I'm like, this thing travels through walls. You know, I had it. You know, I was like, it travels through walls. Luckily for me, I knew what to do with it. But the thing about it is that it can give you a blood clot too. Yeah. So the whole thing is designed really so you evolve. If you want to be angry, you want to be malicious, then unfortunately you will attract, you know, your consciousness, because it's not high, will attract that vibration. So it's a vibration that COVID is carrying with it. And it's just there to tell people, it's time to evolve.
Absolutely.
Because regardless, right, this whole thing, there's going to be a split off, right? 3D and 5D. So people are already, the ones who are attached to the, you know, like the old earth, of the demonic earth or things like that, they get to live out their experiences with that if that's what they want to do. But the ones who want to see another bright future, ascended future, they'll experience that.
Absolutely. But Sunil, listen, it was wonderful speaking with you about all this. Is there anything that you would like to tell the listeners?
Yeah, I work as a life coach, and I work as a business coach. So if you're feeling stuck and you don't understand what's going on, I've had over 20 years of experience working with lots of people and seeing them make major breakthroughs. So if you don't understand the matrix, or if you want to become more of yourself, you want to start to break free of that, I'm there to assist you.
Okay.
But one thing I want to say is that you are your own best investment. You're the investment, not your car, not your home, not the next thing you want to buy.
Absolutely.
You are the best investment that you'll ever have. And
if you can let me have your links where people can contact you directly.
I will, yeah.
Just send them over to me as well, and send me a photo of you so I can put on the thumbnail.
No problem. I'd love to, Nick. Thank you for this time, right? Appreciate it.
You thank you for you as well for your experience and knowledge and everything, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, and remember, Trump is the guy for the job. His soul. We already know that. You know, he is the Republic.
He is definitely. He's got a perfect personality for what he's doing, and brushes
exactly.
off all the nonsense from the deep state.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for what you do as well, all right, Nick?
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Thank you.